Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Rehash, a Web3 podcast. I'm your host, Diana Chen, and on this episode, we're speaking with Winny, aka Winny.eth, about all things consumer crypto and wearable tech, onboarding the masses to crypto, and her new company, Chipped, which offers NFC-embedded press-on nails that link people to your socials. Winny has a really interesting background that weaves together fashion, tech, and finance in a way that uniquely positions her to work on what she's working on today. What I find really inspiring about the work that Winny's doing is that she's found a way to make consumer crypto really fun and digestible to people outside of crypto. Usually when I hear conversations about making crypto fun, it's typically about gaming or gamifying some aspect of a product. And while I actually am a huge proponent of all of that, I do find it really inspiring that Winny was able to think outside of the box and find a new way to make crypto fun that doesn't involve any type of gamification. She shares some interesting takes about why consumer crypto hasn't been successful to date and what we need to do differently in order to make crypto products resonate with the mainstream audience. Finally, we wrap up with a conversation about Chipped, and Winny shares her biggest "can you not" she hears all too often when it comes to Chipped. Winny was nominated by Ernest Coe and voted onto the podcast by DeFi Beats, David Phelps, Karsten, LDF, Zaji Reyes, Forage, Ninty Nick, Verb, Spencer Graham, and myself, Diana Chen. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Winny. Winny, thank you so much for coming on Rehash. This is a long time coming, and I'm really excited to finally have the opportunity to talk to you.
Me too. Super excited to be here. It's a super exciting time at Chipped as well. So yeah, really excited to get stuck in.
I put out a call for questions for you on Twitter, just like I do for every guest that comes on. And we got so many questions, and I don't think we've ever gotten this many questions from fans and followers of yours. So we're going to try our best to cover everything. Also, we have some people in live stream, so I'm going to try to keep an eye on that as well, and also get to people's questions live as well. So if you do have questions for Winny as we go along, feel free to drop them in the chat on Unlonely, and I'll do my best to get to as many questions as we can. So I typically don't start episodes with this anymore, but just because we got a question from Verb on Twitter for you about this, could you start by just telling us about your background? She said, how did you get to where you are today? What's your story?
This is like, you know, when you've told it like a million times and you feel like, oh my God, people must be so fed up of hearing it. But it's very sensical in the end. It does like actually make sense to like how I got to where I am. I got into crypto in like 2017. I was an unpaid intern living in New York. A lot of my friends are really into mining. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I'm broke as hell. Let me check out what this crypto thing is all about. I'm talking like living off 50 quid a week in New York City, kind of broke. And that was like not fun for like little 20-year-old me. But the more I fell out of love with the fashion industry, because God, there is no way to get ahead in that industry unless you're an Nepo baby or you are like one of those extreme talents. And like, I was neither of those things. I loved it. I loved it so much when I was younger, and it was all I ever really wanted to do until it wasn't. Yeah, I just kind of got really interested in the technology, even like more so as I fell out of love with fashion. And then when it came back to going back to uni, I kind of dropped out after my second year to do this internship to see if I would still like the fashion industry. The island that I grew up on is a tax haven. And this is actually an important part of it because I went to go work in finance for 8 months. And as you can imagine, me working in AML and finance is like not a logical fit. And it just made me really realize that like the financial system is absolutely fucked. So I didn't have like one thing that red pilled me into crypto. It was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I was just like a really angry 20-year-old. I was a vegan. There's like a lot of things going on.
Being a vegan is hard. I would be angry. I've never been vegan, but I imagine if I were vegan, I would be angry all the time too.
Yeah, I was just like super angry at the world at this point. Yeah, I was like, this financial system is fucked. There was like a really defining moment when I was working in AML. And we got this like request through, like, you know, a payment thing to go on a very famous British politician's private business account. And it was for a $10 million yacht to be just like deducted from his business account. And I'm like, and that means that it was a tax deductible offshore. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And the reasoning for it was, it's for entertaining guests. It's for hosting. And it was like, why are you, as someone who makes millions and has millions, why am I, as someone who's on, I think I was on like £14 an hour, I was like, why am I paying more in taxes than you are? This is absolutely fucking cooked. I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Again, like I was studying fashion. I hated fashion. Didn't want to work in finance. I had to go back and finish my undergrad degree. Otherwise I would have had to like repay my scholarship. And I was like, I don't want to do that. So I went back and I finished my undergrad degree in fashion design, but I was doing like this small boots on the ground internship with Forbes during Fashion Week. And I went to this talk by the Fabricant and Megan from Vogue Business. And I was like, holy shit, digital fashion. This is like, things are starting to make sense. It was like, things were slowly kind of coming together. So in 2019, I wrote my undergrad paper, The Symbiotic Relationship of Fashion Blockchain for Sustainability and Transparency. And my professor was like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever read. And I was like, cool, I am fueled by spite. I'm angry enough. I'm going to commit my entire life to this. So, and then applied to a master's degree in computer science and business, weirdly at the same university. I went on to do that, just trying to figure out how I could build the systems that I really wanted to buid. Turns out bad dev, really, really bad dev. Not good at coding. Good at ideas, good at being like, we can do this. Bad dev. Like, I just don't have the attention span or the ability to do things. Like, I loved it. I love doing front end, just not good. And I feel like in this space, if you want to be good, if you want to do something, you have to be like really good at it.
No, I get it. I took a coding boot camp back in 2019 because I was like, I feel like I'm going to work in tech. I feel like it's a good skill to have. Not necessarily thinking like, oh, I want to be a dev. And then I just realized like, great, like I'm glad I did it, but like there's no way I could ever cut it as a dev in the industry. Like if you want to be a dev, you have to be like super, super talented at just that. And there's no way. I mean, there's like 16-year-olds that are way better devs than I can ever be. So there's no point.
Exactly. And I look at the stuff that like one of my devs is doing and I'm like, you are cracked. Like, it's just couldn't do this like full stack. And I'm like, you are wild. I'm obsessed. It could not be me. But it gave me that skill set, which I think has become really valuable. And it's the way that I think it allows you to become like a human ENS. So you can take these concepts that are complicated and turn them into human readable experiences. During my master's, I actually moved to France. And that was when I just kind of was like I went full degen at this point. I was like, I've got no job. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm living in like the worst accommodation ever, but like, let's fresh start. Let's just go forth and see what happens. So I just started going heavy into I just go all in on crypto. I had like $2,000 in my bank account at this point. And I was like, let's just go all in. It paid off really, really well. I founded with a bunch of other degenerates on the internet who I'd never seen their faces before. We started a company called Schiller.xyz, which does growth and strategy. And now they do some amazing things in media and events. And the boys are doing such an amazing job with that still. And yeah, we had an amazing run with that doing, growth. I don't like calling it marketing because the reason we kind of started Schiller it was at that time in 2021 with loads and loads of rugs. And it was like, how do we build trust in this trustless system by leveraging our reputations and seeing if we can use that to help reinforce and create like just a really positive vibe in the space around collections and around things that are going on without being like gatekeepy. Yeah, without like giving it that negative connotation. I was with them for quite a while. And then when I left, I just kind of bopped around, just finding like passion projects and, enjoying life as the bull market wound down. And I got to that point where I was like, I need to find my passion again. I've lost my why in crypto. And I came into the space like, so I've been in, this was like, God, when was this? Yeah, 2019, like 5 years ago that I was like getting very passionate about it. And I lost that a lot last year, especially with the bear market, just loads of things in life. They just kind of like eventually just kind of get at you and you're like, God, why the fuck am I still here? It's easy to get bitter and it's easy to get like resentment or jealousy. But I didn't really have any of that. It was more just like, what is the literal point? So I just kind of set myself back on a mission last summer to be like, let's just find a reason to get excited about this space again. And that's when I originally started Gossip with LDF. And we had like a few ideas of what we thought it could have been. Like originally we were thinking about like, content aggregation, and like the other side of things, like a production house or a studio similar to like Mischief. So working with tools that already exist in crypto and creating fun activations around them to get people using them, because like I just don't see us having external adoption until we have internal adoption. So how do we create, campaigns and products worthy of internet from products that we already have, create that variety, create that fun while the crypto is and the blockchain is in the back end. So that was a kind of main reason. And like that was like coming back to my why of like, how do we create these products that get people not scared of blockchain. And then maybe from there, they'll start using it financially. Like if we just move forward without finance being the primary objective, because we all have different motives here than in this bubble than people in the outside world do. And we forget about that. People get scared throwing 20 quid into a slot machine. Like that's a lot for some people. Like some people in the space can just throw 6 digits at a meme coin and be like, oops. But we are such a small percentage of the world that thinks that way. And it's terrifying for the rest of the world to think that that is all that crypto is about. So that's like my mission right now, is to tell the world that there's so much more to this technology than just, gambling.
For sure. And I mean, that definitely is part of it. And if that is going to be the thing that draws some people in, great as well. But that's actually a really good transition into consumer crypto in general, which I wanted to talk to you about first. And then also want to talk to you about Shipped, obviously your new NFC press on nail project that you're working on. But first of all, to start more broadly, when you think about consumer crypto, like broadly as a term, this was a question we had from Ernest on Twitter. How do you so everybody defines consumer crypto in a different way. Some people talk about it as like consumer facing anything. Some people talk about it as like viral products. What's your definition of consumer crypto?
I think we're not going to I don't think consumer crypto exists until it's just consumer. So I think the way that we see consumer crypto moving forward is just removing the crypto and putting it in the back end in a way that the average user doesn't even know that they're interacting with it. And the way that I see this happening, and this is the way that I see a lot of it going wrong, is that it does need to come from inside our side. It needs to go inside out. It can't go out in. Like, Web 2 trying to come in and take crypto and take it out. It's just not going correctly. We're seeing that with, I'm not naming names, fashion houses coming into the space, doing jobs that they, probably got pre-approved in 2021 and thinking that those methods are still going to work now, or like not understanding the culture of Web3 and thinking that they can just come in and do things and it's okay without like establishing their own culture or commitment to the space first. Like if I see a company come in and their CTO doesn't have a Twitter account, their CEO doesn't even have like, a public wallet address, I'm like, how are we've spent years building up this trust between us? You're just going to come in and try and do this? We see it happening quite then it gets sneaky. And I think that's just the kind of thing that we need to avoid. And as a space need to be very, I don't want to say gatekeep you off, but I think be supportive of. It's such a difficult thing. And obviously we're trialing and we're going to get it wrong so many times. But I think it needs to come from inside the house and go out. Like we need to be pulling them in instead of trying to pull us out, or them trying to. There's one thing that I always thought, especially during 2021, is when it comes to hiring. This was something that I was speaking to one of my friends about. It was, I wanted to go for the role at Barbie. That was their chief, the metaverse person for Barbie. And her was like, but Winnie, you have no corporate experience. And I was like, yeah, but I have 7 years experience in crypto. I can learn corporate. Someone with 7 years of corporate experience can't learn 7 years of what it's like to be in crypto. I think there's just a really interesting dynamic there of how we see teams building within consumer. And I think that's going to be really defining for what it means for the products that we then create going forward in consumer crypto.
No, I completely agree with you. I think you said some really interesting things there about how we should be looking at the relationship between Web 2 and Web 3 and maybe even pre-Web 2, physical products. And I know that's something that you focus a lot of your time and efforts on is physical, bridging the gap between physical and not just digital, but crypto Web3 products. I'm curious to hear from your perspective, why are you so bullish that specific subcategory of consumer crypto? Do you think that that is the subcategory that we should be focusing on? Or is it just one that, drawing from your background in fashion and things like that, it makes the most sense for you to focus on? What are your thoughts on that?
There's a few ways to look at it, in my opinion. It's people are more likely, again, going back to the slot machine, people are more likely to spend 30, 50 quid on a physical item that they can comprehend and physically hold than they are to put that money into a casino. And then from there, it's non-threatening. And it's a way that they can interact with the technology in a way that's not of high risk to them. There is still some sort of human-based reward, such as dopamine, such as, they can create a TikTok about it that they wouldn't be able to get than just, there's a value add beyond just hit button and go, number go up and down. I do think it also does come down to I understand fashion. I studied fashion. I just think it's such a huge part about our identities. And we're living in a world where our online identities and our offline identities are merging so much now that it's like, how do we bridge those in a way that is, again, just fun? We're living in an age where like wearable tech is genuinely going to be the future. And I think there's a way that you can show that you're like aligned with this notion. And I think it's like I just think it's really cool. Like, I think you look about like however many years ago when the AirPods got released, people were like, that's so ridiculous that people are wearing AirPods. They will probably become, as they become sleeker or less heavy, people will start wearing the Apple Vision Pro. We're seeing, the rabbit pins, the humane pins. These things are starting. It's beginning. Just because we're getting it wrong doesn't mean it's going to die. We look, again, like people say, oh, these are stupid. They're not going to happen. I genuinely think we're moving away from the phone and from the rectangle screen. And I think we're going to start looking at like user interfaces differently than just graphic user interfaces. The way that things connect to each other and the Internet of Things is going to evolve so rapidly. This is just such a small way to show that you're aligned with the future of all of this. And I just think it's like fun and non-invasive. Like wearing the Apple Vision Pro, incredibly invasive. The humane pin, less so, but it's trying to do so many things. It's just like, how do we create fun, niche, distinct experiences with technology that make people happy and give them a little bit of dopamine outside of a screen?
No, I love it. One of the questions we had from Burb was, how can we make consumer crypto more fun? And I feel like most of the conversations I've heard with regards to that talk about games. How do we gamify everything? And it's all like game. And the thing I love about what you're doing with Chipped and wearable tech in general is like, it isn't inherently a game. It's just like, I have nails where people can scan them and take them to my social and connect with me. It's a social thing. There's no like gamified element to it. And it still really works and it's still really fun. So I love that you're able to find a way to make consumer crypto fun, thinking outside of the box of games that everybody seems to think of.
There's this fine line between gamification and then like Sybil. So one thing that I'm really fascinated with is like, proof of humanity. And like, my whole thing is, how can we Yassify WildCoin, but like do it in a way that doesn't involve scanning your eyeballs? And I feel like there's a really fun way that we can do that with like, we're calling them pearls, proof of IRLs, of like how every interaction gives you a like, proof of humanity kind of like sticker. And then like understanding to what level this gets like de facto Sybiled. How does that create data that's really valuable for chains and understanding wallets? And who's your actual like strongest people to do airdrops to? Because there is a percentage chance that these people are genuine human beings over these people who are bots. Even, like looking at how can we algorithmically understand how people interact with each other. There's so many cool things that can be done with it.
Yeah, no, there really are. More specifically with wearable tech, we had a question from Ernest about, he said, what different mental model is needed when building hardware/wearable tech in crypto versus software? Is the approach to growth and marketing different as well?
So one thing that I find really interesting when crypto people are trying to build hardware products is that they're still building them for crypto people. I even got a DM today from a man, said, oh, have you thought about putting like, and then just listed a load of acronyms into your nails? I was like, no, because I'm building for normal people. He was like, oh. And then he's like, have you thought about making cards? And I was like, shut up. And I'm just like, you don't understand that like building for human experience doesn't mean that we need to put everything into one thing. I was like, what about like putting AI into social graphs? And I was like, I don't need it. We don't need it for what we're building. Like, why do people feel this need to just throw every single bit of tech at something? Oh, it's because they're raising. That's it. They're trying to meet their valuations. And it's like, okay, cool. Just because you've impressed the VCs, actually execute on that, because you're not going to, because no one gives a fuck. Like, let's get people actually using the tech first before we confuse them even more. Like, let's get our foot in the door before we got to Trojan horse this shit. But like, you've got to get the horse through first. And that's just where I think everyone's going. They're being too crypto about it.
They're finding the solution before they identify the problem, right? Mm-hmm. Like they're creating the solution first and then creating a problem based on the solution that they've found instead of the other way around. So that's why it's not, I think that's a big reason why a lot of the efforts to build consumer crypto apps and products so far haven't really worked yet, is because we're not, by we, I mean like devs in the space are not thinking outside of their little bubble that they live in. Like the Williamsburg crowd is not existing at all outside of Williamsburg. And so it's like, if you live in Williamsburg, then all your friends your IRL friends, your online friends, all of your friends are already in crypto and know about crypto. And so you think that that's representative of the world. And you think that that's like the consumers you're building for are your IRL friends in Williamsburg who already know like 100 times more about crypto than anybody else in any other part of the world. And so if we keep living in that bubble and not building outside of that, and then combined with the problem you just said about wanting to create products in order to raise, to appeal to VCs and not to solve an actual problem that exists, then we're going to keep being stuck in this cycle and we're not actually going to be able to reach the mainstream with anything.
Like even with chips, we're not solving a networking problem because, oh my God, we do not need another networking solution. We have no problem networking and exchanging information. We have a problem with how we interact with technology and how we interact between our digital selves and the real world. And the education gap that comes with that as well. Like it's all about just kind of understanding a problem, not just from like, oh, this is going to make us loads of money, but it's like, yeah, it's a very fun little area to be in, to be honest.
Compared to most of my friends in Web3, I'm not the most online person. And with how fast things move in this space, it can be really challenging to keep up with the newest projects and what's trending. That's why I love Forage, a community-curated front page for launches shaping on-chain culture. A Forage launch page combines a press release and a commemorative mint into a sleek single page where they garner support in the form of mint. Projects receiving more mints are bumped to the top of the page, which means I can finally stop doom scrolling or worrying about missing an important launch and simply check Forage to stay up to date on what's happening on-chain. And as an added bonus, Forage uses protocol rewards, so supporters receive a referral reward each time someone mints through their referral link. Go to forage.xyz to get started today. Yeah, have you gotten any questions or pushback or anything from your chipped customers about like the crypto side of things, or they're confused about it, or they're like, what is the crypto part? Like, I'm scared.
We haven't actually started marketing externally to traditional consumers as of yet, because we're still just finalizing the supply chain process. I get some really amazing responses. And I had one that like really resonated with me when I was in New York and I was at the Schiller event and I was speaking to one of my ex-co-founders, and he was like, Winnie, I've been in crypto for like 8 years and chipped is the first time that my wife has ever understood it and been excited about it. And like to have that from like your ex-co-founder, I was like, I'm just going to go like cry in the corner for a little bit. But it's the amount of times that I get, it's always, I showed my girlfriend, I bought this for my girlfriend. She finally understands it. Like she gets it. This is so cool. And even like my designer, the chip, he's not in crypto, but he showed it to his girlfriend and to his sister. They're excited by it. It's just getting that response of like the degrees of separation of now how we're bringing people in. So if that's a way that we can get women excited who aren't in the space, that's just a really good thing. So hopefully that narrative continues as we start to take this campaign forward. Then yeah, I'm really excited to see the response. Like even when we had a really great campaign at Fashion Week in February, we were with Dauphinette, which is one of my favorite conceptual couture brands in New York. And we chipped the runway models. They were super excited. I was meant to take them back from them because we needed them for stock, but they were like, can I keep it on for Fashion Week? And I was like, yeah, please go. Please do. It's super exciting to see the response. And well, I never even mentioned crypto when we're talking about it. With everything that we're building behind the scenes, it's nothing that you would really even expect to be crypto related as well. So I think that's just going to be the way forward. Make everything pink and fun enough that people don't realize that there's any crypto. It's too pink to be crypto.
Okay, so let's get into chipped. I know we've already talked about chipped. People know they're at the NFC press on nails, but give us like a better rundown on what is chipped, how does it actually work, how did you get the idea for it? Like, give us the backstory.
I started doing my own acrylics probably about over a year ago. So it was probably about March, April last year. I like to call it recession core. I was just fed up of going to the salon all the time because it's so expensive. And a lot of the sports that I do, like climbing and swimming, it's just like, I don't like having nails to do that.
How do you have nails? Because like I've always done activities that like prohibit me from having long nails. How do you do activities and have long nails at the same time?
Like this one, like I was in the gym just before and I love just like, there's something so satisfying about wrapping your claws around a weight and just being like, I fucking love this. I just started doing them myself. Also because like I was not very employed at the time and I was just like not doing anything with my life. So I was like, I'm going to learn how to do nails. I saw like on TikTok and a few gals from Digital as well were putting NFC chips in them. And I was like, this is a really fun idea. I'm going to order them from the internet and see what it does. So I started doing that. And the response from conferences was super, super fun. I also have like a massive hatred of QR codes. I don't believe that something created in 1994 that took us a pandemic to understand should be the door between the physical and digital worlds that we're creating right now. As soon as you open up the camera, you've lost them. And that was like, oh yeah, that kind of, it's like the kind of the Amazon one-click problem solver. Like getting rid of the camera, even getting out a wallet from your pocket. That was another thing that happened to me when I was in Dubai last week. There's this guy who's like, oh, I've got an NFC card business. It's like the same thing. I was like, oh yeah, show me. He takes his hand, puts his hand in his pocket, pulls out his wallet, opens his wallet, opens up the card thing, takes the card out. There you go. And I went, yeah, that's 6 steps too many. And he just went, you're right. And I was like, I know. So it's just like, how do we create these really fun, like interactions between people? And I was like, and just seeing people's reaction to it was just like the most fun thing for me. And I had a lot of girlfriends who were like, can you do this for me? And I was like, no, it takes too long and I don't want to fuck it up. It came to like understanding how can we scale this? So, we approached a few manufacturers and on how we can start creating NFCs and like how can this be done? Because I know it had been done by a few like manufacturers in China, and well, we weren't sure like how reliable some of these factories were, so we wanted to go with someone reliable. So we're looking for partners for that, and then we kind of just started to grow from there.
That's amazing. So tell me how the prototypes work and like how you went about designing that, because I just got an IYK chip and got onboarded there and stuff, and I mostly just want to like, well, I'm probably going to try to sew this one onto my dog's dog collar.
Yes.
Because right now he has a QR code. And as we all know, like we hate it. And especially when it's on a dog, like you have to not only do you have to like take out your camera and aim it and make sure you got that part. You also have to get the dog still enough so that you can actually like take the photo with aim your camera at the QR code. So this is going to be such a better experience for people to collect Toby NFTs when they meet Toby in real life.
Oh my God, I want a Toby NFT.
You got to meet him in real life and then you can get one. Okay, cool. Another question we had from Irene Wu on Twitter was, what were some of your learnings from the earliest chipped customers that led to product iteration?
So right now, the biggest thing that I'm thinking about with iteration is like the shape of the nail. So the reason that we went with like the longer, like, so it does have bears on it. Normally they're just like a beige color. So we went with this kind of shape because it was the easiest to like, you can cut it down, you can file it down, whatever. And it was like, oh, why didn't you do it shorter? And I was like, I did it a bit longer so that it could be more customizable to those who did want to do that. Yeah, that was like the main reasoning behind that. But of course, with each different nail, there's different prototyping, and that's money every single time. So we will eventually be bringing out different sizes, different styles. But for now, this is just what we're cooking with. And hopefully soon there's going to be an assortment of all of the above.
And so these nails, you have to forgive me because I am just like, I've never been a nail person. Like before COVID, I would maybe go get my nails done at the salon like once a year. And since COVID, I've never been to a salon for nails. So I'm like super ignorant, but that's a good thing because like most of crypto is male dominated and they're even more ignorant than I am. So I think it's worth explaining. So these nails, you literally just press them on and they stay.
Yeah. So it comes with like a nail file and glue, and you just like put some glue on it and then just press it down. I did get mine taken. You can also take them to the salon. So, and they can like UV them on, but yeah, it is just, you press them down. I mostly do mine on the plane. Normally, I don't have acrylics anymore because they are really bad for your nails. They are so expensive. And I just like to take them off easily. So normally I do get press-ons. But because I was in Dubai, I did want like little bear, at the Barachain event, I wanted little bears. Yeah, you just press them on with glue and then you just soak them in hot water and oil. And they come off in like 10 minutes.
Oh, wow. And how long do they stay if you don't do that?
You can stay up like 2 weeks.
Wow. Very cool. So when people buy these, do they just buy one? Like, do you just have it on your thumb right now and then the rest of your nails are not chipped?
Yeah. So when you buy the set, it comes with 2 NFC chips in it. And then the rest are like normal press-on nails.
Is there any concern about like, say I'm at a conference, I have a chipped nail and I'm walking around and these like creepy dudes come up to me and just like scan my nail without my knowledge, or they're trying to like talk to me and ask for my info or whatever. And I'm like, no, thanks, pass. And then they walk by and they just scan my nail and get it. Is that a concern?
Has a man ever done that to you before?
Well, I haven't had any NFC chips on my body, but I have had people like men come up to me at conferences and trying to get my number or my info. And I'm like, no, thanks.
There's a few ways to look at it. First of all, the antenna only goes to about here. They're going to have to hold their phone against your nail for at least like 4 to 5 seconds at a very specific point for a very specific period of time. It's going to be very difficult for them to like accidentally scan it. I have my phone on me 24/7. It's very even rare for me to have my nail like here for like that's not even in the right place. So it's really difficult for it to accidentally happen. They'd have to really know that you were wearing an NFC. I mean, if they've seen other people scan it, they might try and do that. But then if they're that close to you, you're close enough to kick them in the dick.
I didn't realize you had to hold it up for like 4 to 5 seconds for it to work. So that's really good, like barrier built in. The other thing I wanted to ask you about with regards to Chipped is your awesome brand partnerships that you've done through Chipped. I've kind of just observed from the sidelines, but can you give us an insider look into your strategy with, the brand partnerships, like some of the partnerships you've done so far, like what's your plan for the future in that regard?
We've very rarely done any partnership outreach, to be honest. It's all been very much inbound. And I think that's just like the joy of having such a fun product that brands want to experiment with. Like there's no wrong way to do it as well. It's really exciting with like a lot of chains building their own social profiles, building that can just be implemented in a way without any barriers. I really believe in creating like open source and like building a system that people can just freely build on top of. And I think that's just like really exciting for it to be as limitless as possible. But when it comes to partnerships, it's like my favorite one that we probably did was with Favor app. Like I'm a huge fan of what those guys are building over there. We partnered with them for the Get Ready With Me with Sephora and World of Women for the World of Women Gala in Paris. And all the girls getting their makeup done, all the girls got like press on nails. I went to their Favor profile. It was like, wow, this is just a really fun way to show that Web2, NFTs, centralized social media, beauty brands can all just and content creators can all just come together to create this really beautiful ecosystem where it's all just like very symbiotic and everyone's supporting each other. And it's really great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Who's your dream collaborator on Chipped? Question from Burb.
I think it would probably be like Prada, because I know that like they're aligned with like the Aura Consortium, and I'm very much a Prada girly. So it would and my cat is called Musha Prada. So like you got like aiming high, like that's what it would be. I think the one that I'm really definitely pursuing right now, like, into existence is Sephora. I think it is the most logical route to be going down because, they have the Sephora universe, they collaborate with a lot of women. Yeah, that just seems to be, when it comes to like, distribution, that's just the exact route that I want to be going down.
1,000%. Yeah. That's kind of like if you made like a health foods product and you would want to get it in Whole Foods. Andy had a question on Twitter. How do young founders in a multi-chain world pick communities and projects to work with? Have you had to say no to any projects?
Yes.
Why do you normally say no if you do?
Vibes.
Okay.
I think it's important to say no to certain things. Like I'm purely based on vibes. Like right now, obviously I'm always going to be an ETH girly. I am absolutely maxed on Barachain. The vibe, immaculate there, even if some people don't like it. We have fun. And it's also like, especially the way that like certain communities view women and building up a women community, despite contrary to popular belief of the picture from Dubai from Barachain, that was actually the girls' idea. We were like, yeah, we want to get on jet skis in bikinis. We bought the bikinis, we printed them out ourselves. And, it was and we had like an event with the Bara Baddies where we allowed the girls, we got like hair and makeup for the girls and created a safe space for women. Like there were no men at our event, like previously to that incident. And yeah, and like that was just an amazing vibe. It was entirely supported by the Barachain team. Just bring like events like that bring the vibes, teams like that bring the vibes. That is genuinely it. And I need to start trusting my vibe check more. I've realized that I've gotten myself into a few partnerships where I was like, no, I'm going to trust them because like say they're backed by like, really important VC or whatever. And then it turns out they're just like, I was like, oh my God, I knew that this was not going to be good in the beginning. It was like, just say yes. And that like ended badly for me.
that's something you have to build up with experience too, is like trusting your gut, right? But what if you had to, I know like vibes is a very difficult thing to quantify, but if you had to quantify it to the best of your ability of like, what does it mean to you if somebody comes to you with bad vibes? Like if product came to you, you're like, this is my dream brand, but like the vibes aren't there. Like, what would that mean?
I think it is just like, it's understanding what like, Web3 alignment or like blockchain alignment is. If you are coming in with a Web2 mindset, that is just been the biggest like red flag for me. It's like, if these brands don't understand their why as to why they want to start using Web3 or getting into the space, if they just want it to be another column in their P&L, that is not it. If you're looking just at like, and like money is important, finances are important, profits important. But for me, progression of the space genuinely matters more. Like follow the MO, like follow the mission objective, and the money will come. If you are trying so hard to just constantly push for a profit, and that ends up being exploitative. And I'm seeing that happen so often. And that's what's just like not like stressing me out. It's just annoying me. Like, dude, if you just like play nicely and like align yourself with Web3 more instead of just being greedy, you will actually see better results than if you're just focused on profit. I've started to see that, and I've started to like understand the greed mindset a lot more, because I realize that like not everyone does see the space the way that I do. And especially if they're coming in from Web 2, that's where like I'm going to put my barrier up like a little bit more and just kind of suss out the reasoning as to why, especially as we start going into a bull market again, like the reasons why people want to like be here.
Building on that, how would you also describe like some of the differences between brand partnerships in Web 2 versus in Web 3 in general?
To be honest, we've not really explored too much of the Web 2 partnerships as of yet. We've just started doing that as like we go more into like getting closer to physically launching product. Web 3 has just been, I think has been just really, really fun, mostly because like I'm very lucky with the network that I do have, having been in this space for the time that I have been. That like, I just love working with friends, and I love, working with the people that I am surrounded with every day. That's really rewarding. And I love that side of things. So, but I'm really excited now to kind of move it into the Web 2 side and see how we can bring brands in a positive way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ultimate goal, right? Is to onboard people to crypto through fun things like Chipped. So it's inevitable that partnering with Web 2 brands in the future. And then where do you see Chipped in the longer term, like in like a couple years?
I see it progressing far just beyond nails and just, basic NFC technology and being a leader in digital wearables.
Dog collars?
Oh my God, yes, the dog collars.
Can we collab on that? I will help you with whatever you need on dog collars, dog product.
One of my friends does, he's building our website actually. And he's got his gorgeous dog called Ray Ray. We're going running. He does like dog collars and clothes for his dog as well. And he was going to start like a brand called like Ray Ray and Friends. And I'm like, I'm putting like chips on like bandanas, like the little patches and stuff like that. Yes, I want to do all of the above.
And the dog industry is where the money's at. Like weddings, babies, and dogs.
Because if dogs are replacing kids now.
Oh, for sure. No, my dog is my son. I call him my son, like 100%. I basically think that I birthed him.
Oh my God, like social graphs for dogs.
Oh my God. I've never even thought about that.
How fun would that be?
He has so many friends. He would love that. He has friends from everywhere. Like we used to live in Chicago. He has friends there. Now he has friends out here, out west.
You see what they're up to? Like, could you look at
He has internet friends now too. I mean, oh my God. He has his own NFTs. He has his own DAO. He has collectors from all over the world.
He has a Warpcast.
Yeah, he has a Warpcast channel. Go follow him, Toby the Cow Dog. Last question for you. We end every episode this season with this question, and it is, can you tell me can you not about something in this space? Can be related to something we talked about. It can be related to just crypto in general or anything. I can start with one. This is like related to something we talked about earlier. Can you not get stuck in your Williamsburg bubble?
Yes. Oh my God.
And this is where all our listeners go away because everyone lives in Williamsburg.
I think my specific one for Chip is like, can you not ask when for men? Like, let us have one thing. Let us have this, please.
I didn't even think that. Do you get that question a lot?
Oh my God. It's like, have you thought about rings for men? And I was like, no, like, it was like, take this idea and run with it. I'm like, thank you, man, for giving me this free idea. I love you so much for your contribution. I'm so grateful that you're in my DM saying this. Thank you. Like, that is just, it's the reason I get Botox, because I'm just like, can you just stop asking me for men? We thought about men.
All right. Well, Winnie, before you go, tell us where we can find you if we want to follow you personally, and then also where people can go to learn more about Shipped and make sure they don't miss any announcements.
You can follow us on Twitter, either Gossip Protocol or Chipped Social, and Winny ETH on everything, or winny.eth on Instagram, but Winny with a Y.
Winny with the Y. We'll link it in the show notes too. We'll link everything in the show notes to make it easy for people. Thank you so much, Winny, for coming on the podcast.
So much. This was so fun.
This was so fun. It was a long time coming. Despite all the internet issues, we had a lot of fun. Thanks everybody for tuning into the stream live. And if you missed this live, you'll get to hear it next Thursday, April. Oh, shoot. We're in May, aren't we? What is it? May 2nd? Cool. Well, thanks so much. I definitely will keep an eye on Shipped, and we will see everybody next week with another episode of Rehash.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Rehash. Rehash is hosted, produced, and edited by me, Diana Chen. Rehash is also supported by our community of NFT holders who curate our guest lineup each season. To get involved, head over to our website at rehashweb3.xyz and collect this episode as an NFT. Anyone who collects an episode becomes part of the Rehash community and will be able to nominate guests for future seasons. To learn more about how to become a guest on the podcast, go to rehashweb3.xyz/podcast. And to learn more about sponsoring the podcast, go to rehashweb3.xyz/sponsor. Finally, be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at RehashWeb3, or on Warpcast and Lens at Rehash, and join our community on Telegram at t.me/RehashWeb3. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.